This set is not Spider-Man.
This set isn't even Final Fantasy.
Yep, it's Standard Horizons. This week on battlechads.
Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of Battle Chads. I'm Josh and I'm here with one of my co-hosts, Sam. Hi Sam.
Hi Josh, how are you doing?
I'm all right. We're also joined with one of the founders of Chad Magic, whether it be Team Chad Magic, Battle Chads. Well, maybe not Battle Chads because we'll take the rights on that. But you know, the whole Chad Magic family, would you say, as what it's turning into? Christian, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, Josh. It's a pleasure to be here as always with two people who I know, who I've spent some time with, and have a level of respect for. So yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm happy to talk about the new set, which is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The set looks sweet. The set looks really sweet. But before we move on to that, Sam, you've not been with us for a while. Last time I checked in on you, you had an epic with your dogs on Bonfire Night, is that right? How did that go?
That's right. Well, so long story short, my dogs are okay. Bonfire weekend is not the weekend to offer to dog sit. That's what I learned. But no, there was 4 dogs in the house. My 2 were fine. The 2 we were looking after were a bit stressed out. but to be honest, after I was like so hyper focused on Magic moving into the weekend of Spotlight Liverpool that it's been nice to have a couple of weeks off of that and to talk about Magic or think or play Magic. So it was okay, thank you.
Well, that's about to change because we're here to talk about Magic. But before we do, I had a preamble thing of myself, Josh.
Okay.
So, like on Twitter this week, I don't know if you noticed, people are discussing how much they pay for their haircut.
Okay.
And I was very interested to know how much you pay for yours because it is the source of ridicule in our various WhatsApp groups. So how much do you pay your barber and how often do you go?
So I pay £10, which is including a tip.
What's the tip? Is the tip a pound? Is it £9 and you pay a tenner?
Round up. I'm a regular customer. I get my haircut like twice a month. I like a high and tight. You like sort of metro.
Is that what they call it? A high and tight? Is that what?
No, I go that often now. They just go the usual, and I go, yes.
Here comes that idiot who pays a tenner.
Mate, he's class. Like honestly, if you're not treating yourself to a proper Turkish shave, it's class. Like they do your ears, they get you the wax in your nose. They get the straight razor on the side of your head. It is absolutely honestly those long haired. If you get a shave, yeah. If you get a shave, yeah. But like, if you just get your head done, it's like, oh, it's so good. Like those long-haired listeners amongst us, if you've never experienced a Turkish shave before, I feel sorry for you. It's like the only time in my life where I actually get proper pampering from a stranger, and it's okay. Like it's okay.
I would say, Josh, if you're recommending a barber and they are watching on YouTube, then they probably know who to avoid. But anyway, that was my preamble. I'm only joshing you. We're only having a bit of fun. Before we talk about some exciting cards, which is the main thing.
Yes. But before we move on to that, I just want to say that Team Chad Magic and Chad Magic as a whole is sponsored by UltraPRO. UltraPRO have been fantastic to work with. Their products have been absolutely superior. The Apex sleeve line, which is what currently the team is using, is fantastic. I've had sleeves on my Glorious Vengeance deck that has lasted me for about 8 months now, and I've not had to replace any of the sleeves. And I am an aggressive shuffler. Christian, how have you found working with UltraPRO?
I really like UltraPRO. I think they are really cool. Great company to work with. And we are talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. But if you don't want to be a card bender, you don't want your cards to bend, then there's only one choice. You've got to use Apex. And I don't think you'll find a more seamless plug for a sponsor in the whole realm of Magic the Gathering than that. And that's all I can say.
Anything from you, Sam? Have you found them?
About the sleeves or about the seamless plug? Because I've got something to say on both of them. But no, sleeve-wise...
You keep the seamless plugs to yourself. We know what you're like behind camera.
So sleeve-wise, it's fantastic. and it having it on a shirt makes me feel important. What can I say? I think that other sleeve providers have sort of let their quality down, and I've not noticed that with the Apex line. One thing I will say, if you're a person who's terrified of deck checks, like me, whenever you get deck checked at an event, it's terrifying. I got deck checked 3 times this Spotlight at Liverpool. No issues anytime, baby. We got all the way through with those Apex sleeves.
Not from my
That's
end.
going to be on the next advert for Apex sleeves. That I'll message Bjorn.
Photo of me doing this.
I had a drama with deck checks.
Free deck checks, no problem.
I had a problem with deck checks. See previous pod for full details. Anyway, so that's our sort of shameless plug-in done, and our sponsors. Please give us more product. You are amazing. But how this pod's going to run then? So obviously the topic is the Last Airbender, the Avatar set that's coming out for Magic. We've expressed our opinions on the sort of Universes Beyond sets on the pod. I don't think the opinion changes. However, this set is looking sweet. So how this pod's going to work then? I've got Christian and Sam. They're going to take Christian's going to take a standard sort of outlook on the set, and then Sam is going to take the modern outlook on the set, and I'm just going to be happy in between. Now, just on Christian, you recently had amazing success with Standard. You had a control deck that you brewed up yourself, and you clean sweeped the RCQ that happened in Just Playing Liverpool the previous weekend, was it? Or the weekend before? The weekend before.
It was
really good showing. You've actually been smashing Standard recently. How do you feel? Well, let's get a quick opinion on Standard post bans. A quick couple words on that.
So, so in the RCQ, I was playing Blue White Scam, as you know, because I beat you in that, and you are obviously my worst matchup, but I still managed that. But we won't talk about that because we know you weren't as practiced, so it's okay. But I'm a bit gutted with the bans, if I'm honest with you, because as Sam will tell you, because we had a good conversation around it. I built my deck to be tailored against the red deck, and both big red decks lost their key card. And so I feel like the fact that the Demir deck completely missed a ban and the red deck's gone, for me personally as a control player, I feel like at the moment I can't see how blue-white control is a viable deck. I don't think I'll be playing that at the moment, which is a shame. But I think there is maybe space for a blue-white tempo or something like that to come in. So yeah, I was playing a blue-white scam deck using the Riddler and trying to scam Riddler in and blink Riddler and stuff like that. So it was a really, really fun deck. But I don't think that's going to exist in the post-ban meta because it was really built to take on Vivian mono red. I think that the Avatar set is when we're doing the intro and I talk about being a standard Horizon set, I think this has got the capability to really change standard. I think there are some cards that just slot straight into decks, but I actually think this set will allow for some new archetypes to come in, or some old returning archetypes like go wide or stuff like that can actually push through and change the way the standard meta works. Maybe I'm a little bit worried that there might be quite a lot of combo in standard moving forward, but I think that Avatar has enough aggressive cards to really punish that kind of deck and enable those quick wins. So I'm going to talk about some of those cards today. I don't want to spoil it yet, but it's a very exciting set. And just on the Universes Beyond thing, I think that with Spider-Man didn't really resonate.
No.
But the feeling around Avatar seems to be completely different. Whether it's that it's a fantasy-based theme rather than a kind of a non-fantasy superhero. There's a lot of superheroes fatigue. Remains to be seen. Whether or not Turtles become super relevant later on in the year or later next year remains to be seen. But for now, I think there's some really key cards that are going to define the meta moving forward.
So Sam, you did really well recently with Standard as well. You did well at Spotlight Liverpool. You took mono red to day 2 and got the promo card out of it. What's your same sort of question towards you post bans, because we didn't have you on the last couple of pods. If you could tell your opinion post ban.
I think, don't let it go to your head, Christian. I think this is one of the rare occasions I have to agree with Christian. For one, his 2 good matchups were apparently mono red and VV. Arguments aside, but no, I think that
I never played them, by the way.
he just dodged them day one. But yeah, I think that standards. Look, what I will say is Standard has been a point of discussion from the competitive community for a while now. It should be Magic's flagship competitive format. And sadly it hasn't been, just to wrap up everyone's concerns. And like the things with these bans is there's been a lot of discussion about Nemesis this week. Two things why I like that they banned Screaming Nemesis. One, I no longer have to convince myself the mono red's playable. Deck is shockingly bad. They've banned the one playable card. It's gone. Now I never have to touch it again. And two, I just think that like when you have so many sets in Standard, you've got foundations in set for an amount of time, and as we find out every day, that card in foundations is like the biggest like the sort of motto of Standard at the moment.
Yeah.
What
Damn
was
it, you're
it?
talking about my main deck, Regal Caracal.
Yeah, yeah. It's it.
Which is in
Aurelia the
Foundation.
War Leader, like the Boros 2 combat card. That's a mythic in Foundations, apparently. Crazy. But I think that when you
I found out today,
Gutter
Snipe
Snipe,
is in
wow,
Foundation. Is what I found out today.
this is all news to me, I think, and everyone else. But when you have so many cards in Standard, it's hard for those pillars to shake too often. Like banning profs because profs is just going to do silly things with the same 71. I think is really good and has put a bit more confidence back into competitive standards. And as Christian said, with Avatar, we're not only going to see new additions to old archetypes, but we're going to see my favorite thing about set releases is when that card that was like quite good 2 spoiler seasons ago finally gets a home. And I think Avatar is going to do a lot of that with new archetypes.
Cool. Just a point I always want to go back on you, Christian, when you said about the UB sort of stuff, because I think it'd be quite to set a bit of time now. Just talk about the Universes Beyond feeling, how it sort of like has hits and misses. So obviously a lot of hits with like Lord of the Rings. This new set is going to be really good. Compared to say like Spider-Man and stuff. And I think the key thing that comes to the feeling is the setting. So for example, the Lord of the Rings and Avatar are set in like completely fictional sort of fantasy worlds that could be like a plane of Magic the Gathering. But like Spider-Man, it's like New York. Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles is going to be, is it New York again? I don't even know.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So like, that's not really, I mean, realistically, Earth could be a plane on Magic the Gathering, but like, it doesn't really feel that. And I think that's one of the key sort of takes that I've taken from listening to discourse over the internet and other stuff. So yeah, I don't know if you
Spider-Man, I think, and this isn't me backing Spider-Man up because I hated that set. I'll be honest with you. As an enfranchised player, it didn't resonate with me even a little bit.
No.
But the point of that set, I think, is marketing awareness around Magic. I think is like the main thing there. It's not really meant to be that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason why Spider-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is standard legal comes from a good place, but the implementation hasn't really resonated because I think it comes from a place of, well, we don't just want to get players into Commander, we want them to get into 1v1, which we all agree with on this pod. We're all going to be like, well, yeah, that's true. We all want to get them into 1v1. We all want that to be standard. So we'll make it standard legal, but that has had ramifications for us as enfranchised players that has been a bit iffy, to say the least. But yeah, I would agree with you, Josh. I think this set it just feels different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you see that in the cards. I think the way that this has been designed, it looks like they knew from the inception of this set that this was going to be a standard set, and they've designed it as such. Spider-Man didn't give off the same vibe. It gave off the sense that this was meant to be like starter decks, commander decks, maybe type thing. But I think from really, it's amazing what they've done with Avatar. And interestingly, there are no commander precons for Avatar, which really surprised me because it's not like Wizards to not do that. It seems like they have prioritized 1v1 with this set, and all around it just seems like a hit with everybody. I've spent the weekend pre-releasing with it. I've played with the cards, and the new mechanic just seem awesome. I think it's going to make a big splash on standard.
Cool. So what we'll do now is we'll talk. Sam, you've got a list of 5 cards for Modern that you think would really be impactful. And we'll talk about Modern first because Modern being the more powerful sort of set. the sort of powerful cards will be more attractive towards a modern player. But so there may be some overlap. I don't know yet because I don't know both of your lists, so I'm sort of listening to them live. So there might be some overlaps. That's why we're going to do the standard second, because then you can compare sort of why this will be better in standard, or sort of like there's no real, obviously a card really powerful in modern is probably going to be really powerful in standard, maybe for different reasons, but we'll use this pod as like a case study to see that and have a discussion about that. Yeah. So Sam, modern,
yes,
is this set going to be impactful in modern, and if so, through the means of 5 cards, how will that look?
I think the answer is yes. It's interesting because I know Christian had a hard time picking 5. Sam, I've got 33 cards from the Avatar set I want to talk about. Was the small pre-brief we had before, but I think that this set's actually impactful in modern in quite an interesting way, because I had to really pick my 5. So I had the opposite problem as Christian. Now, inherently, that might sound like, oh, the set's not that powerful. Sam was struggling to pick cards, sure. But the reason I was struggling is because so many cards are potentially very, very good in modern. Modern's a very fluctuating landscape at the moment. You can prepare for the standard meta. If you're going to play standard this weekend, you're probably going to see the mid-range. Modern is a snapshot of a weekend at a time. Yeah. If Jeskai Blink's doing well, the next event, it's going to be decks that try to beat Jeskai Blink, for example. It's a rotatory, rolling format. So I think that this set has very impactful cards, most of them being quite playable, but it just depends on what modern looks like in that picture, in that snapshot. So I've got some interesting picks on my list.
Do you know what? Before you say it though, I just want to, I just want to give, because Christian mentioned before about new archetypes coming up, and I think that might be down to the new mechanics in the set. And so we just briefly talk about the mechanics. So you've got earthbending, firebending, waterbending, and airbending. Is that right? Which is, I presume,
you're asking me to cover you on this, and
yes, because I've not seen the show. Okay. Christian, with his ADHD brain, decided he wants to watch the entire series when the
I watched the whole series to prepare myself.
So yeah. I'm not really interested. Yeah, so you talk about mechanics. I'm not really interested in how maybe it fits in with the show, but I'm not really interested in that. I just want to know what it does in my game that I play. But so I do know from a legacy point of view that earthbending is being talked about quite a lot. But Christian, do you want to take away with the mechanics before Sam goes on to his
really
list?
Simple. So we'll start with firebending. We'll start with the lore. There's 4 elements in Avatar, and people can manipulate one of them if they're from a certain part of the world. The Avatar can manipulate all 4. They have to learn them, but they can manipulate all 4. But anyway, the first one is firebending. So really simple. When you attack a creature with firebending, let's say they have firebending 1, that will generate 1 red mana that will happen when they attack, and that will last for the whole attack phase, and then it will fizzle. So there are some which have firebending X, where X is the power, some which have firebending 2 or whatever, but in general, that is like, it gives you that red mana to use during that attack phase. So it enables like very aggressive strategies, or like impulse draw, or something that to go off in that kind of like instance and kind of phase, or flash. Very aggressive. I'll talk about some cards that do this a little later in the section. We've got airbending. Now, airbending is a really interesting one. This is probably my favorite one. To airbend something exiles it, and you can play it for 2 generic instead of paying its mana cost. So it kind of like, it's sort of like a bit of like a blink, but like a slow blink. You got to play it, kind of like plots a card, but for 2 mana. Really interesting mechanic. Probably the one that's the most different to anything we've seen before. So that's definitely going to see play as well. We've got waterbending. Waterbending allows you to tap your creatures and artifacts to help you play the activated cost. So you might have like a waterbending ability 5. There's a 2-drop that does this, that allows you to look at the top 4 cards and get a creature with mana value 3 or less. You essentially can pay that by tapping your creatures,
like
and
improvise.
then look at the top view.
Bit like improvise.
Kind of like improvise, but for creatures and artifacts. I think this is really good, and it's going to enable like kind of like those longer strategies. And then you've got earthbending. Now, earthbending is really, really strong, and it's interesting you mentioned it in Legacy because it's definitely been a very strong one in Limited. Most people have taken the TOF one when I went to pre-release. They took the earthbending one. Earthbend, like let's say something got Earthbend 2, you put 2+1+1 counters on a land, and essentially it's a creature as well. But interestingly, if it would die or exile, it just comes back tapped as the land. So
That's
it's like
strong.
a really,
That's
really
very
like
strong.
yeah, it's very strong. Now there's also a land. I think it's called Barsing Say something, the land. And then for 2 and a green, it allows you to just earthbend a land. And that's just like such a repeatable threat. So I can't
Urza
see that.
Saga.
Yeah, well exactly. Yeah, you can you can
We'll get there,
Urza
Josh.
Saga. Yeah. I think Sam might cover that one because I think that's a super interesting interaction. But I'm sure earthbending is completely busted. I think these 4 mechanics are incredibly strong. I think each of them has a real clear place. We've got firebending as super aggressive, super impulsive. We've got airbending as like this kind of like tempo and control-y, blinky kind of thing. Then we've got earthbend as this completely broken, aggressive sort of like throw your lands as creatures. And waterbending is this like long drawn out sort of value play, mana sink type situation, which is enabled by having lots of artifacts or creatures. So these mechanics are like really interesting. I think the design team has nailed it, and I'm not just saying that, like genuinely. I think that from someone who's just watched Avatar, it makes perfect sense. But also as someone who is a Magic player who really enjoys interesting mechanic, it's so cool to play with them as well. So I really enjoyed the pre-release with these new cards.
Cool. Sam, over to you, mate.
Yes. I just want to say, Christian, it's funny you go over the mechanics there because I obviously initial cards come out, you kind of like glaze them, don't you? You look over, you go, sound okay. And I read Earthbend and went, this is atrocious. This is absolutely awful. And then I saw somebody else discussing it, and it's like, oh, they come back. It's pretty good. It's pretty strong. So yeah, I've got some Earthbending cards on my list. Not to spoil the surprise, but yeah, sure. Let's get talking. So the first card we're going to talk about is quite an interesting one, and it's Price of Freedom. So Price of Freedom comes in at my number 5 pick for Modern. And you might look at this card and go, Sam, you know, the water in Liverpool must taste pretty good if you're picking cards like this to be modern playable. But hear me out. This is one of the elements I was talking about before. And this card is so you can easily, scroll past this in spoiler season. It's much more exciting cards. But there's a couple of things about this card that really interest me, and I'm wondering what you guys think. So there's a card that was printed in one of the Zendikar sets. I believe it was Zendikar Rising, the most recent time we've been there, and it was Cleansing Wildfire. So Cleansing Wildfire, 1 and a red, sorcery, destroy target land. Its opponent may search for a basic, draw card. It's essentially this, but this is a little bit stronger for 2 reasons. Firstly, this is destroy target artifact or land, so obviously variety. Being able to pick and choose what you blow up. At the moment, 2 of the strongest decks in Modern, Affinity. We've seen a resurgence in Mox Opal, Kappa Cannoneer, Pinnacle Emissary as a standout from Edge of Eternities. It's really been pulling its weight in Modern. And Amulet Titan, a deck that plays really important artifacts and really important lands. But naturally, the issue with a card like this is you have to be all in game 1. So mono red land destruction. I'll see Christian's eyes light up, but red white land destruction in modern paths, something like that. But what I really like about this card, or what I think it could potentially be very playable, in the fact that it's a lesson. So lessons are a revisited archetype for this set, but in a very strange way. Just to refresh everyone's minds, lessons were from the original Strixhaven, and essentially some cards had learn strapped onto them, and learn was either you could draw or discard some effect like that, or you could grab a lesson you own from outside the game, which for competitive formats means your sideboard. So we've not seen any lesson card or any learn card in Avatar as of right now. But we are heading back to Strixhaven later next year. So while this card is sure it's a shatter effect, you get to draw a card, they get a basic, it blows something up. That's all kind of flavor text. But if we get one playable learn card, all of a sudden you now get to hide a copy of Price of Freedom in your sideboard. You get to do your modern shenanigans, and if it actually comes up that you learn, you now get to go fetch your Price of Freedom, blow up their Tron land, blow up their Amulet of Vigor, blow up their whatever else in Affinity, or just like really importantly, maybe destroy the copy of Shifting Woodlands, or trying to think Mirror Pool and Amulet Titan. I think this card has a lot of potential, although there is a caveat there in the fact that it might have to come with Strixhaven, which is really weird. What do you guys think of this one?
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Of
I had
course.
a question on this because I'm really enjoying what you're saying there about the lesson cards, because there is a card from Strixhaven that I pulled out as something that if lessons are really good in Avatar, it might be playable and it would be very good in Blink, which is the Professor of Symbology. I think it's a two. Yeah, you might disagree with me, but I'm just giving an
No, I'm
example.
just trying to remember what that card does. It's such a
It's a
flashback.
2-power creature for 1 and a white that when it enters the
Oh
battlefield,
yeah,
you learn. And
yeah, I
so,
do
if
remember.
you are playing an archetype that allows you to blink things, the card advantage is significant. Now, as someone who plays more standard than modern, I don't know how playable that is but essentially, that does allow you to learn, and because it's a creature, and because you have cards like Ephemerate. I mean, is a card playable for 2 mana if it's a 2-power creature that allows you to blink potentially? It allows you to learn 3 times with Ephemerate.
Yeah.
So it's just worth a thought. And so that was what I was going to ask you is, there's that one. There's also the Divide by Zero, but I think that's not playable in Modern because it's 3 mana, where you return target permanent or spell, maybe? I'm not sure. We'd have to bring it up. And then
Yeah,
you learn as well.
that was banned in standard, right? Divide by
It
zero
was.
back in the
I
day.
played a
Yeah.
lot of it. It was very, very good. But my question is, Sam, is something like Professor of Symbology, like a 2-drop that allows you to learn, do you think that's playable with the lesson cards?
So it's a good question. Being a white card is very important at the moment. Pitches to a particular elemental. Solitude is quite the staple in modern as a. I personally don't think so. My perfect concept for a learn card is something that does something relevant and also lets me learn. I'm not sure if 2 mana learn is good enough, but it's
I
the
was going to read the
utility.
cards very quickly for
Hmm.
the list. The Professor of Symbology is 1 and a white for a 2/1 for a creature core cleric. When it enters the battlefield, learn for a 2/1. And Divide by Zero is 2 and a blue for an instant. Return target spell or permanent that with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand. Learn. That's what those cards do.
Yeah. I'm not sure, and I'm certainly not smart enough to figure it out. I could definitely see it, but what I'm excited for is just where, because this is a very odd thing to do, right? Give us half a mechanic. So this makes me more excited for what Strixhaven learn cards are going to say. Um, I think this, and also just as like a face up, this card's fine. This card is definitely playable and can probably pop up in a sideboard somewhere if you are on a red deck, for example. But it's just the idea that this card's playability could really increase. Like if you can make a good lesson board, if you could have 5 playable lessons in your sideboard post Strixhaven, this card's definitely going to be one of them.
Agree.
So it's like a speculation, isn't it? I mean, I see this card, and I'm not gonna lie, this doesn't excite me. I think
I'm sorry, Josh.
I think that the artifact stuff is relevant. I'm not sure
Yeah.
what single artifact you want to destroy on the opponent's side. So you've seen this effect in Pauper, right? Where you have the artifact lands that are indestructible, and you target your own land, and then you sort of ramp yourself.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'm not sure if this effect is modern, but I'm just being devil's advocate here. But it's cool, and I like your reason behind why you chose it. But I am conscious of we've got another 9 cards to look through, and we spent about 10 minutes on on this
An
one.
uncommon.
So,
Yeah.
an uncommon that
Okay.
that I don't think is very exciting, but it's not about me. But yeah, what's the next one, Sam?
Perfect. Let me move on to my number 4, which is a little bit more exciting, I promise you. So again, Sam, why are you picking uncommons from a very exciting set? This card has, I read it like 6 times, and I swear there was something I was missing here, and there definitely is. So Joe D, one of many, makes it in at number 4 for me. 1 in a black for a 2/2. We don't care about that. Activated ability of black, tap, surveil 1, create a token that's a copy of this creature, then sacrifice an artifact or a creature, activate only as a sorcery. Again, why are you picking this? So there was a huge discussion about whether it should be Vivi or Agatha's Soul Cauldron that's banned in standard. And then I kind of clicked that this is pretty busted with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Not so long ago, there was sort of a black-green Urza's Saga rock deck in Modern. It was kind of on the precipice of the format, but it definitely existed and flexed its muscles.
This
This
was with One Ring,
card's
right? One Ring was in the format then, was it right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that's one of the first games we actually ever played, Josh. I was on that, and you were on Rhinos. But this card's cracked a bag of a Soul Cauldron, and more importantly, what that deck loved to do was get an Orcish Bowmasters in play, and then your army has a +1/+1 counter on it, so it gets all of the Agatha Soul Cauldron stuff automatically.
Yeah.
So with Bowmasters, you get to get a counter on your Bowmasters, pay 1 mana, tap, surveil 1, create a copy of your Bowmasters, which then gives you a creature to sacrifice, and then repeat ad nauseum or as much as you'd like. That's the floor. The ceiling of this is probably something broken. I haven't even realized. Getting extra copies of Quantum Riddler, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That seems pretty good. Bowmasters is also not very playable modern right now. How big everything's going, and it's let Quantum Riddler really flex its muscles in the format because there's no natural sheriff or predator to keep it in check.
Mm-hmm.
You can do this and get like 6 copies of Orcish Bowmaster in play pretty easily, right? Because the next turn you now tap both your Bowmasters to make like your Bowmasters duplicate essentially.
Yeah.
So 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 4,
But
and then dependent on mana.
you can stack this. So it says you need the mana. There's a mana sink to this, right? So one
Yeah.
so 1 and tap the creature, surveil 1, then create a token. So the surveil actually fuels your Agatha Soul Cauldron. Create a token that's copy the creatures. You say you copy Bowmasters. Bowmasters should already have an Orc army out. So what you do is you can make a copy of Bowmasters. Then once the copy's in, you stack the triggers. So the death trigger happens. So you kill the army, and then it creates the army back. So you actually you knock down any squares on the battlefield.
Exactly. Yeah. This is
Well, it's not even a
because
trigger. It's part of the resolution of it to
yeah,
resolve.
exactly. So you finish this ability, and then your Bowmasters to make a guy stack.
Yeah.
Trigger goes on the stack. I think that like obviously the floor is Bowmasters, but you can start doing. I feel like there's something very silly you can do that with this,
Mm-hmm.
and the inclusion cost is pretty low, right? Like it's not a good card, but there's so many ways to pitch and discard and draw in modern that like this could end up in the bin as easily as you wanted to. And I think that under Soul Cauldron specifically, and with Bowmasters specifically, this is actually quite a nasty little fair combo you can get going in your modern
It
decks.
could even be good in like a Yawgmoth shell.
Yep. Yeah. Make redundant copies of your combo pieces. For example, is pretty cool. Like even just duplicating Wall of Roots, right? It makes your Chord of Calling so much more impactful and so much easier to cast. But no, I like Jody. What you got any opinions on this one, Christian?
I'm so glad they put Surveil 1 on it, otherwise it would be completely unplayable.
Sure. Yeah,
No, I agree with all what you're saying. That's just the part of it that I have to add is you also get to surveil. So
yeah,
I think the cards can definitely be broken. It's one of those cards that invite you to say, "How do I break this card?" And I think you guys covered it really.
Yeah, I mean, like Surveyor 1 put Gris in the bin, exile Gris with Agatha Soul Cauldron. Now all your Orcish Bowmasters are also Gris the Hunger Tides, and it kind of spirals out of control from there. Because that deck was good, and I really enjoyed playing it, but I had a really tough time ending games, and there's no better way of ending games than with 15 Orcish Bowmasters in play, I don't think. Which is seems like a pretty good way to do it.
If you've got
Anything
any
else?
ideas of how to break this that we haven't covered, let us know in the comments, because I'm interested to hear what people say about how
Might
they are playing card.
might potentially be a standard one, Christian. I'm not sure, but this is definitely an
Soul
interesting
Cauldron,
card. And
Soul Cauldron's still standard.
I think in stand. I mean, Agatha's Soul Cauldron is still in standard, so I mean, it didn't take very long for that card to be problematic again. I wonder if they play tested this with this one after they admitted they didn't notice with the Vivi thing. But yeah, I think it's a really, really good card. Sam, what's your next one?
okay, let's take a look at Sam's number 3. Okay, so now we're actually on to rares. Everyone breathe a sigh of relief. This is a rare magic card. It'll back your booster if you get one. So Airbender Ascension, 1 and a white. Immediately enters, you airbend something. So you take it out of the game, and then you can pay 2 mana to play it, essentially. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a counter on it, and then as long as it has 4 or more, it's just an ephemerate at the end of turn. So Modern is currently dominated by Solitude, by Blink strategies, because they're so efficient at doing what they do, and they don't run out of cards anymore, thanks to Quantum Riddler. So Airbender Ascension is basically Ephemerate number 5, but with a huge ceiling rather than a floor of a rebound in your upkeep. Airbender Ascension, essentially, I the amount of times I've read this card and the way to get counts on it is so minimal. It is already your game plan. It's just if you Solitude, Ephemerate, Solitude, 2 counters. And then this thing flickers in quotation marks, flickers something as it enters as well. This just feels like people have to at least experiment this in the blink piles, right?
So
Card's pretty absurd.
This was my promo card in my pre-release yesterday. And I know obviously pre-release is very, very different to modern, but it was astonishingly easy to hit that 4 quest counter.
Yeah.
I mean, it was super easy. And when the thing that it does when it enters is relevant too. It was easily the best card in my deck, and I think this is at its best when you're playing it like a Riddler shell for me. Maybe because the idea of like airbending your own Riddler and then playing it again for 2 mana, for the full cost of the creature is really, really good. So I think I say Riddler, but just warp cards in general is probably very strong. That's coming it from a standard point of view. I'm really pleased you picked this because this probably wouldn't have been in my top 5 from a modern perspective. But I think this card's super interesting. We've got to keep an eye on it. I think all the Ascensions are pretty strong. And as a white player, then I look at this and I think this is really, really, really cool.
There is a lot of white cards or white-esque or cards that play with white that do incur value. I mean, this could even be good in the sort of generic blue-black. I don't know if you even see sort of red-black sort of white-black sort of Overlord decks anymore. But let's say you look at Jeskai Blink, for example. So you turn 1, Ragavan. You turn 2, play a maybe not this, but if you turn 2 connect with Ragavan, you could then ephemerate a Riddler. So then turn 3 you play this, you give Riddler again, so you probably ephemerate your Riddler again, so you play this, flick your Riddler, got a couple of Solitude, your hand's stacked, and then by turn 4, 5 you've got this online, no problem. And it's really creating that engine there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not very good with Flage, because you can flick a Flage all day and it'll just still die, but you can potentially get Lightning Helixes on the go if to close the game out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but the Flage decks have got like Solitude and stuff. So
Solitude.
They've got so many other things that you would target with it. That
you could even potentially flick it.
I think the card's good.
How would it work if
it takes a slot in modern?
Yeah. How would it work if you hasten a Ragavan with this on the battlefield? So you hasten a Ragavan, the trigger goes in the stack. If you flicker the Ragavan, will it stay in?
Yeah, they're both end step triggers, so you just stack them how you'd like. So if you got 4 counters on this, you just get to give your Ragavan Vigilance and it stays in play.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't touched upon with airbending is you can airbend your opponent's creatures as well. So it might not be beneficial to airbend your Flage, but you can airbend theirs.
Yeah, it's really good as a tempo play, isn't it? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it a lot, and it's really, really good if you airbend like the big thing and they've got to recast it. But I think in constructed, you're probably more likely doing it to accrue the value yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because 2 mana's not a huge cost to replace something.
No.
I'm interested in this. I'm not 100% sure for Modern Sam because I think like a 2. I think there's a few things you got to do to really get the value out of this, but I think it's definitely got a home. But whether or not it replaces something else, it will be an interesting.
You've got the straight up black. So you look at what Nassif was playing. The straight up blue, white sort of flicker shells could be really good there.
Yep.
You know, because they play like Ocelot Prides and all that stuff, so you can accumulate lots of creatures really quickly with this. And then obviously they play Solitude and Riddler themselves, so you could actually. It's probably I could see this in like a blue-white version of a flicker deck more than say the Jeskai version with it's already got playing 3 colours, so the slots are really.
You heard it, guys. Unban Yorion.
Don't please. No, Hey, unban Yorion, and then I get to play for. That seems good. But I don't know. I see cards like this, and I'm not smart enough to break them. But there's a lot of text in this thing, and it's not
like there's something
irrelevant.
there's something in the back of your mind saying this is breakable.
It's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
I think it's value based for me. It's just it's a flicker effect for 2 mana. It's a tempo play, airbend something of your opponent, or it's a value play from your side, and then you get value later on from it.
Yeah.
That's how I read this card. But Sam, I'm so hungry for another card.
Just say, I'll keep your hunger at bay just a second. The last thing I'd love to say about this is modern at the moment is not very focused on removing enchantment. It is focused on countering someone on the way down and blowing creatures to, the blind eternities.
Yeah.
So like in a blink mirror, if you get this going, there's very few ways to get rid of it. So like I don't know, but okay. Now to satiate Christian's hunger,
Cue
let us
prismatic
move
ending.
to. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I've never said that. We'll cut it out. We'll get it. We'll get rid of it in post.
We're not.
Okay.
Out.
What's your next card?
This is the card that.
Yeah.
This is
this card's dumb. It's stupidly good.
Okay. Badgermole Cub, 1 and a green. When this creature enters, Earthbend 1. So basically, target land you control becomes a 0/0, has a +1/+1 counter on it, and as we discussed, if that was to die or exile, comes back attack. And then whenever you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. So I think people have pigeonholed this card, which is quite interesting. So it's a 2 mana 2/2. You get it on an Urza Saga is the dream, and then when your Urza Saga pops and you go get something busted from your Urza Saga comes back tapped, and you get to do it all over again.
Yeah.
That is personally not how I see this card. I think that is pretty unnecessary. Most things that are popping their sagas, you're getting an Amulet of Vigor or something pretty busted, or from the Affinity piles, they don't play green. There's a very different way I see this card. So, turn 1, play a Mana Dork of some variety. Turn 2, play Badgermole Cub, play a fetch land. Play your fetch land, and then Badgermole Cub your fetch land. Your fetch land's now a creature. You crack it, you get a land, and your fetch land comes back to the battlefield tapped. I think that's, if this card does see play in Modern, I think that's going to be the more play pattern that we see with it. I don't really buy into the Saga thing, because as good as that is, it's just long. It's just 4 turns. You can get value out of this straight away, is what I'm saying. The interaction with fetch lands is actually pretty cracked. just being able to ramp yourself for nothing is really, really strong. There's really silly things you get to do with the surveil lands. I'm gonna earthbend a surveil land, then I'm gonna block, then I'm gonna get an extra surveil when it comes back. That's pretty good. This card has stolen a lot of the limelight for the absolute nuts and the absolute ceiling, but I'm just here to say that the baseline, the floor, is actually also very, very good. Don't underestimate this as a rampant growth on a 2/2 that then sacrifices itself to Flare of Cultivation or something like that, or just I can't figure this card out, but I think that its floor is just as impressive as its ceiling. That's my hot take.
It is a 2. I mean, even if you cast this on turn 3, for example, like you're with a fetch land, like any fetch land that's just like ramping you, like it's really good. This card is good.
Yep.
I am snap countering this card if I'm on the play 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
I think this card is insanely strong. As a 2-drop green creature, it's really difficult. Quite as strong as this. Really. I think it's especially broken in modern. The problem modern players are going to have with this is also going to be wanted by every single commander player under the sun. And it's going to drive the price of the card.
And it's a mythic, right?
Yeah.
Mythic. This card's not going to be cheap. I think if this card you can get it for under 25 now, I'd probably buy them. If this is the type of deck you play.
This is, I mean, I've seen Legacy like discourse talking about this card as well.
Yeah.
This card's super strong. I can't think of a stronger green 2-drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tarmogoyf is so far away in the rear view.
What is that a card? That card sounds
bad. I would not be able to tell you what it does.
Tarmogoyf wouldn't be played in standard.
Yeah, Again, I think that this is a hard card to evaluate because if you think about it, it doesn't actually do anything, but it does do a lot at the same time, which is quite interesting.
The ceiling to this card is high.
Yeah, and one thing I'd love to point out is that when the creature dies, he just comes back to the battlefield, so there's no trigger, I believe. So like you can't get it consigned. I think it's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
A special action. That might be incorrect.
It's returned. It doesn't. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't use a stack, right?
I don't think there's any way to interact with it. It just happens.
Yeah. That's so obviously with cards in modern decks in modern playing 4 main deck consigned to memory. That's pretty relevant too. Could be wrong about that. It's been a while since I've updated my
the ETB trigger in this though would be able to be consigned, right?
Yeah.
So you could be able to consign the ETB trigger, but the actual death trigger of the land is going to happen.
Yeah, this also works really well with Dryad Arbor. I think you get to make a fetch land a 1/1, then crack your fetch land, fetch Dryad Arbor. Your fetch land comes back tapped. Your Dryad Arbor now taps for 2.
Yeah.
Bit of a Ancient Tomb effect there on a pretty playable modern card. My big issue with this guy is I don't actually know where it fits because it's not a Titan card, I don't think.
No, I don't think it's a Titan card.
It is playable somewhere, and also Spell Snare's just not played anymore. Both Belcher and Frog are basically out the meta, so Spell Snare's nowhere to be found. So there's definitely a lot of investigation you can do with this guy. Also, it's a Badger and a Mole, 2 very underrated creatures, IRL. I'm not too sure how they got together and made such a cutie, but that's besides the point.
I'm interested to see what your next card's going to be. If this card is not even your top pick.
I was just going to say, just from a standard perspective, because this isn't in my top 5, but I just wanted to have one final thought. Is Llanowar Elves and stuff like that is in standard?
Yeah.
So there are lines with this in standard which are really strong as well into like Ouroboros and things that care about +1/+1 counters. So I think that genuinely this card is going to play in some. If it doesn't end up seeing modern play, it will. But if it doesn't, then it will definitely see standard. Definitely stand up.
Yeah.
So Like, I don't think this card's like a poor investment if you want to get them.
Yeah.
Not a finance podcast, but if you do buy them and they crash, it's Christian's fault.
Hey, listen,
This
I made
card
a
won't crash. This
fortune on
card won't crash.
Charismatic Conqueror. What's
No,
your top pick, though, Sam? We're desperate to see. I'm
oh,
hungry.
who
I'm
would have
hungry.
guessed
My tummy is
it's a
rumbling for the top pick.
who would have
Kelton
guessed
Ring.
it's a big bloody bird? So my top pick is probably everybody else's top pick, but
This card is
guys, I just want to
broken
remind you,
in half, rounded
I
down.
just want to remind you guys, we are an audio podcast. I'm going to read out the card. Okay. Wan Chi Tong Librarian, X double blue. Legendary creature, bird spirit, sadly a mythic, not an uncommon like my first two picks, but flash flying vigilance. That's all they could fit on the top line apparently. When Wan Chi Tong enters, put X +1/+1 cancel on it, and then draw half of X cards rounded down. So very reminiscent of Hydroid Crisis of old.
Yeah.
But that's not the juicy bit. That's flavor text here. Whenever an opponent searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw cards. Where to begin? So I'm not sure. I only ever view cards in a modern spotlight. If this card's good in standards, I'm sure Christian would tell us in a sec. But modern at the moment is so heavily focused on free color decks. And when you're very heavily focused on free color decks, you have to have good mana, which means you play 12, 10 fetch lands. This thing's pretty busted with fetch lands because from a modern point of view, this doesn't have an X cost. This is something you are looking to play on turn 2 or turn 3 pretty consistently without pumping a lot of mana into that X.
It being flash as well. Being flash as well is like so broken.
It's pretty broken.
This card is pushed.
Who at Wizards thought it needs vigilance as well? It's not strong enough. It's unplayable unless we put vigilance on that card. No one's going to play. This is the mad thing that I think when I look at cards like this. This card's broken. This is one of the strongest cards I've ever seen, in my opinion. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but I think that it's actually relatively balanced at the same time. It dies to Fatal Push, it dies to Lightning Bolt, it dies to Dismember for for some of the time. I do like that. So this is immediately reminiscent to me of Quantum Riddler, a 2-mana card advantage engine in the modern format. But they play very, very differently. What I really like, essentially, it activates this sub game of Magic the Gathering. Do I crack my fetch land now or do I pass? Well, I need to crack my fetch land to play my Quantum Riddler. Well, in response, I'm going to flash in the Librarian. Well, if my opponent flashes in the Librarian, am I letting that? Or I'm technically already a mana down with my fetch land on the stack, but can I counter this now? Or do I like?
I think this is going to be
cool.
This is like the opposite of like it. Okay, so this puts the player down to not being punished for playing the game, but it's giving your opponent value for just playing your game. Orcish Bowmasters is reminiscent of this in Legacy. So you play your brainstorms, your ponders, and all that sort of stuff. Yes, it's not stopping you from playing the game, but your opponent is you're creating like this weird sort of play pattern.
Sub game, right?
And I'm fearful that this card may be a bit like feel bad in a way. Do you know what I mean?
It definitely can be, but Modern's also a format where you can get Grittle branded on turn 2 very consistently.
Yeah.
I think
this card also dies to gut shot as well.
Yeah, exactly.
This card's, but honestly,
it's really good.
You best hope you've got removal for this because this card's very strong. Like, I mean, if you think about it this way, right? If you play this card early game, it's going to accrue you value from the fetch lands, etc. If you play this card late game, you're going to literally just draw cards. It's a Hydroid Crisis with flash.
Yeah.
Like,
this is a mental top deck.
Downside of this card.
This is a mental top deck.
Do you know what? You convinced me. As soon as we finish this podcast, I'm going to order 4.
Well, I tried. I checked on Troll Trader before this pod, and they're not in stock. But if they were, it was £33 for the normal one, and like £93 for like the full art one or something.
This
I honestly, I'm gonna order them because this card, it's a Universes Beyond Legendary with a name. It's modern playable. Unless this gets banned, this card's going to the moon. I think.
there's a lot of play though.
Not financial
Obviously,
advice.
yeah, not financial advice. It sounds like Christian's about to lose a lot of money, as in like just on ordering these bad boys after the show. But I do want to I just want to reinforce for people sat at home or listening via audio, who also may be sat at home. Not sure why did, but this card is fantastic, but it's inherently got a lot of inbuilt downsides. Like I can have 4 Quantum Rillas in play at once. I can only ever have 1 Librarian in play. I love that this now becomes a deck building problem. How many of these do I play? Is it like is it good in every matchup? I don't know. Like for example, would you keep this in against, let's say you're playing this, you got 4 copies and you paired into Belcher round one, a deck that doesn't really shuffle its library. Like I love that this now is a problem. If it's in play, your opponent can choose to play around it. It's not how aggressively do we kill it.
Yeah.
If it's in your sideboard, how aggressively do we bring it in? If it's open deck list, do you just never shuffle game 2? I think that this is a really cool card to exist because this sort of card really gets the most out of both players at the table. Obviously, look, I'm not trying to downplay it. It is obscene, but this isn't obscene in the same way that a Flage is, for example. It's like it's a different kind of powerful. Um, from a modern point of view, I'm looking at it as a really tempo-y 2-drop play that accrues card advantage. But Christian, from a standard point of view, is this just a Sphinx's Revelation that attacks for 10? You sounded terrified.
I mean, I think that you can play this in Demir tempo because it's an evasive flyer with flash. So you can play it in
that's a
that.
good
I mean,
point.
that deck draws enough cards. The search as your library is obviously far less relevant in standard.
Sure.
I don't know. If you're playing against you, there's a lot of land destruction in your deck.
Yeah, my modern deck. The thing that's going to be annoy people like this card is going to be the price because this is CDH playable forever. It's Commander playable forever, and I think this is standard, Pioneer, and modern playable. So, I mean, you're asking if they printed Hydroid Krasis with Flash playable, yeah, definitely. The fact that this doesn't require 2 different colors, yeah, really, really playable. It remains to be seen what the best shell for this is.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
think that in modern, especially, having the search as your library, I mean, that's just shutting. Like, imagine you're sat there with your fetch lands, and you're like, I need the land, but you're gonna give your opponent a bigger threat and the card every time you fetch. This card's insane, man. As I said at the start, it's broken in half, rounded down.
I just want to say that the flavor of people paying to use the library is very funny. The actual flavor of this card is spot on. The longer spent in the library, he comes out with more knowledge, and then everybody else has to pay him to use the library, which is pretty good flavor text. But look, I predicted Quantum Riddler being nuts in modern, and so did everyone else, to be fair. But I'm taking it. I'm not sure.
It was you that predicted it to me.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever Aspiring Spike said doesn't matter. It was
I
all
think
about
Aspiring Spike said the same.
but I heard it from you first, mate. So maybe Aspiring Spike was.
Yeah, copied it. He does know what battlechads is, to be fair, does Spike. He shouted this out before, but that's my number one, guys. Honestly, taking a look through the set, I don't think it could have been anything else. Any parting thoughts on this one?
I'm just looking forward to what Christian's going to have to say in a minute.
Yeah, and
4 of these,
yeah, if you can hear Christian furiously typing, I think that's the sound of 4
As
owls
a
being added.
card market cert, what that is.
Okay,
Well-
Christian.
Now on standard. So I've got some picks here, and we'll start off with Boomerang Basic. It's a lesson, so it might be relevant, and it has the amazing card text on it of draw a card. But essentially, Boomerang Basics is a blue mana for a sorcery, and it's a lesson. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you control that permanent, draw a card. So there are a few things about this. First of all, return target non-land permanent. Not creature, it's any permanent that's not a land. And secondly, if you control it, draw a card. So you can already imagine the play patterns in your head of this as something like a Storm Chaser's Talent, make an Otter, turn 2, bounce the Storm Chasers, you draw a card, you got a 2/2, swing in, then play the Storm Chasers again. You've now got 2 prowess creatures, and you're accruing some value there, and you've replaced that card as well. So it's really, really strong in that kind of situation. But also in those type of decks where they kind of want to like be a bit tempo-y and like play an early threat and then manage everything, it's also good from you can just remove your opponent's big threat on that turn that's relevant for you to attack him with all your creatures. I think this sees play in any Storm Chasers Talent deck easy. We're looking at Pixie decks probably making a return post-ban with the likes of like their natural, predators going with the Vivi deck now not a thing with Vivi being banned. And I also think this might see play in kind of like, I reckon we might see like another Terra deck, maybe Simic Terra, or is it Terra cropping up? So I think this card's got multiple applications. It's only going to get stronger if we get a learn card. And yeah, essentially it's just a great tempo bit. You bounce something, you draw a card, or you just swing in for lethal because you've got the ability to do so after removing your opponent's big threat. So yeah, really high on this card.
If this was instant, this would be nuts. Like this is,
Yeah.
I mean, I could see the playability in standard for this, but if this was instant, you wouldn't see was it Floodmore played ever again? Like
it's not though, Josh. It is a sorcery.
It is a sorcery, but I'm just thinking like
we'll have to read it as written because if it wasn't instant, they would be smoking something at Wizards.
Yeah. Like this, I could see where you're coming from, but yeah, I'm just thinking like, imagine if this was instant, this would be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, if my grandma had wheels, she would have been a bike.
Yeah.
I think that one thing to say is like, we saw the Airbender Ascension, and we said we're mostly going to be flickering our things, and every now and then we're going to be flickering our opponents. And then I think this card's exactly the opposite. I think most of the time we're going to be like, I guess this is more of a one-shot of that style of Febble card advantage touch. I think the draw card makes this card, honestly, very, very good.
Yeah.
Great with Cryogen Relic.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good crime as well for things like Duelist of the Mind.
I think this card's really playable, and I actually think that this card is playable in ways that I haven't worked out yet. I don't think I'm smart enough to work out how good this card is. But if you think about some cards that just have slipped under the radar over the past, like things that ended up being incredibly broken, like this town it ain't big enough and stuff like that. I think this card, 1 mana, you draw a card, you return something, you get the value. Like I just at the moment I'm just imagining with Storm Chaser's Talent and it being incredible with that. But there's so many other applications, as Sam said. So this is my first one. I think this will see play. I think if you're planning on playing standard at all in the next year, I think you should go and get a playset of these.
Yeah, definitely.
This one's probably the most obvious one, so don't feel bad if we're just going past this one. Right, one sec. Right, so next one is maybe a little bit more obscure, maybe. I don't know. I think people are still looking at this card. But what I've got is Raven Eagle, which is 2 and a black for a creature bird assassin. Assassin is relevant because it's an outlaw, by the way.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a 2/3 with flying, and whenever this creature enters or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card is exiled this way, create a clue token. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So I think that the last clause on this card is nice, but I think the other stuff is really good. So like, I think this is like a mid-range card that sees play in a meta where graveyards kind of matter, but also it's generally just quite good. I mean, it's a 2/3 flyer, which okay is more of a limited statistic rather than a standard statistic, but when it enters, you get to make a clue, because chances are you are going to be able to exile a creature on turn 3 from a graveyard. Maybe not, but you're playing black, so probably something's been removed. You make a clue, and then you can do the same when it attacks. So this ceiling of this card is every turn you make a clue and you exile something from the opponent's graveyard.
Yeah.
So I think this card's playable. I think it's definitely got a place. Its 3 toughness makes it a bit iffy in black decks compared to like a 4 toughness of like a preacher. However, it reminds me a bit of Graveyard Trespasser with the exile effect every turn. And it's amazing how often that is super relevant. So having a threat with card advantage and exile, even though it doesn't do any of those things amazingly, the fact that it does all of those things seems relevant for standard, in my opinion. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Graveyard Trespasser has ever been a playable card, but that's a personal hill because I lost to it in standard. I've lost to it in modern. You know, like I'm just every time I look at that card, I'm
Pioneer,
like,
probably, if you
I'm
play
Pioneer probably, yeah. But like, you know, I just don't think that card's very good. But I keep losing to it, and this strikes me as the exact same principle in that it's not exciting, it's not splashy, it's not blowing up 20 lands as it enters or something like that. But it just slowly does its thing. You know, it does what it says on the tin, and then
Like,
before you know it,
you've
you're
got to answer
behind.
this, right? You've got to answer this. It's got evasion. It incurs value,
Yeah,
and it has
yeah.
So like
It's cool.
it's reach as well. Like whether it be either hitting through flying or you're just drawing your second card, which in like a blue black tempo shell in standard you tend to draw a lot of cards. If the deck does what it's supposed to do, and also in say like a with the annexes and stuff, in standard, in the demon decks and that, you're drawing an extra card at the end of turn, draining them for 3 this time, not 2.
Works well with Kaito as well. Kaito 0.
Yeah,
It's like
adding more text to Kaito. You can actually get Kaito in with this because it's got evasion.
yeah.
In my opinion, with this card compared to like a preacher or a graveyard trespasser, it has far less game against the control deck. So I'm not, as a control player primarily, I'm not worried about this card. But this card is a great mirror breaker. In those mid-range matchups, because if you're playing like a removal heavy and that your first few threats are answered on either side, and you drop this and you're starting to make clues, it becomes relevant. And remember, clues are highly relevant with water bending if that becomes a thing, because you can tap those clues to help you pay those costs. So clues are not just a way to draw you cards, they can actually help you pay those costs. But I think that compared to the other mid-range 3 drops, this is much better into other mid-range than the other cards like a preacher or a graveyard trespasser in previous standards. This one seems more like a mirror matchup card.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll move on to the next one for you, because I know I've pressed the wrong button. There you go. Which is Ang, Swift Savior. So this really, I'll read the card first, actually. Ang is 1, a white, and a blue for a legendary creature, human avatar ally. So sorry, Overlord players, you cannot get this card. It has flash, flying, and when it enters, airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell, and it has waterbend 8, transform Ang, and it's 2/3. If you were to transform Ang, it becomes a 5/5 with reach and trample. With it, whenever Ang and La attack, put a +1/+1 counter on each tapped creature control. But I think that if I can go back here a second, But I think the main thing we're looking at here is the fact that this is a bit of like an upgraded spell queller, and spell quellers seen play in Pioneer. So in terms of like power level, I think this is well up there. I actually think this really enables a blue-white tempo shell. And we've seen a blue-white aggressive go wide shell, and we've also seen a blue-white control spell. But I think that there's going to be a new blue-white archetype come up, which we spoke about at the beginning, about how some new archetypes are coming. And I think there's going to be like a blue-white tempo blink deck. And I think Aang's going to be at the center of this, because being able to airbend another target creature or spell is really powerful. And airbending is so versatile because you can do it on your opponent's permanents or your own permanents.
Yeah.
It's also spell as well as creature. So you can see how good this could be. Now, I can imagine this in like a really tempo-y, aggro-y flyers build, like an Aven Interrupter, but I could also imagine this in like a control shell where you're just trying to like stop someone from doing something. So I think it's a really, really interesting card. I think it's breakable. I think someone's already built like a band deck that has like infinite airbending, which we're not really going to talk about today, because it's a bit of a niche deck. But in terms of like cards, 2/3 flash flying, and it does something when it comes in, is really strong. And then of course it's got like a sort of ultimate ability, which gives you a big creature to swing it.
This is cool. I like this. This is really cool.
It's your kind of card in it, Josh, even though it's blue-white.
Yeah, so you can there's like the utility of this is massive, right? So say for example you're in like a counter war deck, for example, you try and resolve a spell, then it gets countered, then you can just flash this in, return your own airbend your own spell that's on the stack. It no longer gets countered because it's spell quelled, if you were, and then you can then recast that again later on for 2, or it could even be cheaper than what you paid for it originally. Do you know what I mean? Same. Like if you're on a tap out war, like you're trying to counter spell your stuff, you flash this in, almost tax them their counter spell or tax them their piece of interaction. Like the utility for this is mental.
Yeah. I feel like there's something I'm not seeing, as in like I think this card is pretty good, but I love the concept that I don't really know where it should sit. Like there's been a Regal Bunny Call and Quantum Riddler deck popping up in standards, and this feels like a really good fit for that deck, because I just love that as a floor, this card flickers something for 2 mana essentially. And then, as Josh said, as a ceiling, you can start removing your own counter spells from the stack. That's so sick. I think this card's cool. Also, it's nice to have that like you went for an Ang card. I didn't. It's Avatar: Last Airbender. This looks like the lead in a cartoon. I can live with it. It's good card.
I think that these type of decks have been missing something to interact board wipe in the board wipe pattern. And I think this is that quite a bit. I mean, I think it's just all round very playable card, but I think it's usable as well. So that's kind of why I've picked.
It's actually interesting to me because this is an Ang card. This is the I guess the namesake character in the show, and because I'm disenfranchised from the show, to me it still feels a bit of like a magic set. Like this set doesn't feel bad to me. Like I'm consuming this set. It feels like a mix of Bloomburrow. It feels like a mix of Kamigawa. It feels like a mix of other like franchise sets that people loved, but it just has the benefit of having an IP attached to it that people like, and I think I think they've nailed this set. I genuinely think
Avatar's a really good set to go into Magic, because Magic essentially is like Avatar with an extra color. That's like kind of how it works, because in Avatar there's no black. There's dark stuff, but there's no like clear black, like necromancy graveyard kind of. That's not one of the things. But the firebending, airbending, water bending, and
nearly
earth
there, isn't it?
bending just matches perfectly up. So,
Yeah.
like, I can see why it's fitting really well.
And it's given this IP playable cards, because the Spider-Man set, you could just play those Spider-Man cards and you'll get nowhere with that set.
I know Sam's a big fan of Spider-Man and he likes that
Mhm.
type of stuff, but I think that, like, you probably, Sam, you're a little bit disappointed looking at the Spider-Man cards compared to the Avatar cards and the playability of them. Maybe it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can tell which one had 5 years worth of design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think this set is, if we were to put universes beyond in a Venn diagram, one side would be Final Fantasy, one side would be Spider-Man. This, in my opinion, is much more of a Final Fantasy than it is a Spider-Man. So yeah, the set looks really cool. Like, I've never seen the show, but like these cards are very bright and colorful and make me want to entertain the idea of watching the show. Same way the Final Fantasy cards do.
In my opinion, personally, I think this is a better set than Final Fantasy, but we will move on to the next card because I know we're
I'm
in
hungry, Christian. I'm hungry.
So I'm going to talk about a few red cards as one, but this is my
Cheating.
pick of the red cards. It's Firebender Ascension. It's 1 and a red for an enchantment. It's a rare. When this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. Whenever a creature you control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then if it has 4 or more quest counters, you may copy that ability. You may choose new targets for copy. In my opinion, this is an insanely strong card, and I think it is one of, if not the strongest from the set. We've seen before how powerful it is when something creates a great value token for the rate. Let's look at like a Reflections of Kiki from Kamigawa. That's 3 mana, creates a 2/2 that makes a treasure. Well, this is 2 mana, creates a 2/2 with Firebending 1, so it's not dissimilar. But the attacking trigger is so easy to pick up in a red deck or maybe like a Boros deck.
Yeah.
And once you've got 4, every time you attack, you are doubling those triggers. So let's say you're attacking with mobilized creatures like a Voice of Victory or a Stadium Headliner or something like that. You are doubling those triggers. So you're now getting extra tokens.
Yeah.
That's a minimum. If you're attacking with firebending creatures, you're now doubling the mana from a firebending creature. This card you can return to your hand and play again if you want to. If you want to make repeatable 2/2s, you're getting 2 game pieces for 2 mana. In my opinion, this card is incredibly strong. When we were first talking about the set within our WhatsApp groups for the team, this was the one that I pulled out and said, I think this card is so good. It's hard to find why this card wouldn't be playable. So I'm interested to hear, because, I mean, Sam, you've played Red for like the past season. I'm obviously more of a control player, but I look at this card and I feel like this is just super strong.
The card is very, very strong, and I think that you would actually be doing this card a disservice by just putting it in the red deck. This, like, I love powerful build arounds that don't necessarily need 59 cards dedicated to it. This is a mid-range piece, it's an aggro piece, it's even a combo piece, right? If you build your deck properly, as you were saying. So, like, I think if you were just to, Screaming Nemesis is banned, I'm going to put in 4 Firebender Ascension instead. I think that's a massive disservice to a card with a power this high. I'm with you. I like, again, it's an enchantment. It's uninteractable really in standard at the moment. I like that if you're doing something extra with the mana, like to be fair, this works really well with Hide Claw. Hide Claw can trigger the cards, and then the firebending mana can actually go back into your pumping your Hide Claw just as minimums, right? Like, so the floor is this is a 2 mana 2/2, and the ceiling is like, the red deck plays Emberheart Challenge at the moment, which sucks.
It's not even a 2 mana 2/2 like a vanilla one. It has an ability. Do you know what I mean? Like this card enables itself. Like this card can, if unchecked, can turn itself.
Triggers the thing, and also let's say you 1-drop, 2-drop this, right? Let's say you hired Claw, play this 2. Turn 2, you are putting 2 counters on this.
Yeah.
Because you get 1 for ability. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's like whenever you attack with one or more, it's
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
causes. So it like for me, I think by turn 4 you probably triggered it. Let's say you play this late game in an aggressive deck, you attack with everything, right? You put the 4 counters on it straight away, and then you start doubling things. It's like I think this is best in like a Boros shell personally. I know Ash Lizzle posted a list with like Arabella and Voice of Victory, and Arabella obviously drains the opponent and stuff like that. I think that's where the home is. But Sam, you raise a really good point. Is this actually fits in probably like a few different variants? I just think this card's super playable. I think this card is a defining red card. As I've said multiple times, whoever is in charge of designing red cards at Wizards definitely has some dirt on the big boss, because how they get these things redesigned each time is beyond me. This is such a good card. As a control player, I hate it because there's 2 things I've got to deal with. It just
you have to deal with every creature as well, right? If that's online, I top deck a High Claw, give it haste from a Rockface Village. That is now a very real threat. It's every card after.
I'm now taking 2 damage from it, and then you're attacking with it as well. So yeah. The Voice of Victory with this is insane. Like 4 tokens is just mobilizing. This it just works really well. Honestly, if you're a red player, go buy 4 of these.
Yeah.
You said that to so many cards.
I know, but like
please
honestly,
don't.
if Dan, who I'm replacing on this podcast because bless his internet, it's no longer with us, but he's bought 4 of these already because he's a red player and he knows that this card's gas. I just wanted to do a couple of honorable mentions around the red deck. I think Firebending Student's also really strong. It's a 2-drop with prowess, Firebending X, where X is power, so you can like fire some and sorceries in your main phase to give it a bit of prowess. Then when it attacks, you get that. I think this card's really strong as well. I also wanted to talk about Zhao the Moonslayer a little bit, in just that this card's like a 2/2 with Menace. It's already pretty good. Non-basic lands enter tap, and then you can pay 7 to put a Conqueror counter on it, and essentially have a Blood Moon effect. I think
this is massive. This is massive.
This card should absolutely go away and not have been printed, and I hate it with every ounce of my being.
This is big in Standard and Pioneer too, because
this card's a pain.
This like I know Standard like decks run a lot of
non-basics.
They run a lot more basics because they have to fix the mana. Even 2-color decks, right? So I'm playing my blue-black deck. I'm playing
non-basic. It's even in Standard. It's a lot of non-basic.
Yeah, it's a lot of non-basics. I mean,
that is super relevant. That clause. That is so relevant. Let me tell you, because we've got shock plans and stuff. So
I mean, 7 mana sounds a lot, but when you add the firebending stuff, it's actually not, because you could attack with everything and then just do it.
That is a good point, and I didn't think of that, and I hate it even more now, Josh. But yeah, I think I think these 3 cards that I've just shown you, that they're all red playables from the set, and I think they're going to make a difference. This one I hate.
I think this is going to be big. Like legendary, you probably don't want to be jamming 4 of them in your deck for this effect, but I can see this sideboard. Maybe 1 or 2 main board, and then the 3rd or 4th one on the sideboard. Like
Red's got a lot of answers to things as well. Like you think about like Spider Punk as well. Like damage can't be prevented and spells can't be countered, and then you've got this. You know, there's some 2-drops in red that really make your opponent think. But it's just, as a red player, how much do you want to sacrifice that pure aggression for those type of cards? But I think a menace is like an underrated mechanic. It is
non-basic lands enter tapped as well. Like this on turn 2 is annoying. Like if you're on the play, if you're on the play right, and you play this, and then you're holding a watery grave in your hand or whatever, and a 2-mana removal spell, you're like, this is going to hit me twice before I can deal with it.
It's all right, Josh, because I'll have Plains Elspeth Smite, and we'll be okay. Or Steam Rip it, but praise the Lord.
One thing people haven't said about Zhao or Red. I said earlier today that Red lost its most powerful card in Screaming Nemesis. That deck's second most powerful card is Sunspine Links. Turn 2 Zhao into turn 4 Links is brutal.
Yeah.
It's so sick. I love that. Like I just want to say that if you're at home listening or watching, I don't see this as a Blood Moon. I see this as a 2-mana lands enter tapped with Blood Moon as some gravy at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But like this turn to this, your opponent's really fancy lands now to come into play tapped. You're punishing them in one direction, and then if you just go Sunspine Links, they are likely not having much mana open because their lands are entering tap, so it's more likely to resolve. This card's really good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I've got put as my last one, but this is oh, I remember now. So this is my
Oh,
pick. I think this is a bit underrated. I think this is pretty strong actually, because we've talked about airbending being pretty versatile, but airbender's reversal here. So it's 1 and a white for an instant, which is also a lesson, so it could be relevant. Choose one. Destroy target attacking creature, or you can airbend target creature you control. I really like this card. I think this card's very strong. I think this is really, really good in a couple of builds. As a control player, I like it. Even though I can't kill a creature on an end step, which is what I usually prefer, I do like the thought of airbending a creature. You know, I've spoken about how I built that blue-white scam package. I think that deck is going to change a little bit from being control to more tempo-based. But I think this card's got a place. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this as like a bit of an Elspeth Smite kind of card. Like that card that you maybe see a couple in the sideboards or maybe even 1 or 2 main board. I just think that it's got a little bit of potential. Remember, you know, like you don't have to destroy that attacking creature. I could block with something and then airbend it and then replay it. You know, like you airbend a Beza after it's blocked, or after you tried to
that's pretty cool.
His friends are it.
You know, it's sick.
I think this card's pretty good. So this is Christian's special pick for players who play white.
I know it was I do like this card, and I'm not really going to touch much about it because it is what it is. But there was a card that I was surprised you didn't mention. Is it the Upper Steadfoot Guardian or something?
Steadfast Guardian.
Yeah, Steadfast Guardian. Yeah, I was lucky enough to pull one of them as well.
Is that not good in your sort of? I read that and I thought that was a Christian card. Like,
yes, I like that card a lot. But I feel like that card is going to have a specific home in a specific deck, and I wanted to cover cards more that I felt that were going to define the format a little bit, rather than pick a card that was going to be like, oh, this probably will be a deck.
Cool.
But yeah, Appa Steadfast Guardian. Do you want to read it, Josh, so people know what it does?
No, because if I start doing up, it'll mess with my screen and I'm recording.
It's
okay, right. Do you want me...
I think it's a 4-mana 3/3 flash flyer airbend any number of target creatures.
There you go, that's it.
Yeah, it's 2 and 2 white for legendary creature Bison ally flash flying. When it enters, airbend any number of other target non-land permanents you control. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 ally creature token.
It's much better
For
than
me,
that. Wow.
this is a deck. You're building a deck around this card if you're playing it.
I think this card's sick.
Yeah.
This card's really cool.
And I think that it's one of the decks that I've seen with this is the one that plays Doc. It's a bear doctor from OTJ.
Doc Orlock.
Yeah, annoyingly, I gave all of them away as uncommons because I wasn't using them, and so I need to go and get them again. But there was like a Ban Infinite deck with this. I think if you are able to reduce that cost of 2, then it's really, really good. Because it doesn't really blink everything. You've got to replay it.
Yeah.
But I do like this card, and I'm gonna start. The thing that I'm gonna be brewing post, well, now that we're in post ban and we're into the Avatar set, is I'm gonna be looking at that blue-white blink deck. That's probably the deck that I'm gonna move forward for. You know, I like blue-white, and this is a card I am definitely like looking at as something that can do some work in that. It's got flying as well, which is very relevant. So we'll see what happens.
It's an angry-looking cow.
It's a bison.
It's a bison, mate. Yip.
That's what I say to my son before I drop him off at school. Bison.
Very good, Josh. Well done. Right, I'm going to stop.
I think that wraps up the entire podcast really well, Josh.
So overall, this set looks really like fantastic. I think
There's so much I didn't cover as well, by the way. I should say, because there'll probably be comments be going
this is a
mental
long
saying,
pod, but
why have you not picked this one?
yeah.
It's a 2-hour podcast, guys.
So-
right, we picked top 5.
So it's interesting to note that there's no more Modern Horizons. I think 3 was the
Yeah,
maximum they're gonna do. So
They said they weren't, but I wouldn't trust that.
no, but this is interesting to show that the power creep in these standard sets, like every standard set recently, apart from Spider-Man, has been even Spider-Man, I suppose. There's been like a card or a few cards that have been like chase rares or mythics that have been like uber playable and format defining. Quantum Riddler being an example. And it looks like that they're sort of pushing with this set. They're sort of pushing that design within standard. I mean, I like the fact that you should get your cards from standard sets and not from Modern Horizon sets or straight to modern sets or straight to format sets. I think all of Magic should come through standard. So maybe there's a theory there that they're now pushing the designs a little bit within these IPs to try and get people playing them and get people buying these products and not saturating the market.
I don't think it's a theory, Josh. They printed Vivi.
Well, yeah.
I think they are pushing him.
Yeah. But yeah, interesting. Any more, lads?
Yes, I have one more thing.
Go on.
Right, this is my, what is it called? Bonus sheet or honourable mention. My Scornful Striker, 1 and a black, legendary creature, human noble ally, first strike. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. I'm not going to explain it. You know what it's for. You know it's to annoy me. It's does what it says on the tin. That's my honourable mention.
We've had cards of that effect before. There was, I forget the name of it, but it was
Actually, they're in red.
in what it was in black and white. What's that card?
Campbell.
Yes.
Campbell from original Kaladesh.
Yeah. That was a juicy little sideboard card I used to play. Any more on this set, lads?
Yeah, I've got 5 more cards to talk. No, I think
now
I'm
that
good.
we've warmed up, are you ready to hear my 33 card?
So you know what you can do when you've started brewing with your modern sets and these new cards? You can actually come and play them at our charity event, which is happening on the 13th of December in Harlequins, Preston. Now, our charity event is a modern open decklist tournament, competitive. It is going to be mental. It's going to be mental. So we're raising money for War Child. War Child is very relevant right now. It's a charity. It's a British-based charity that supports children who've been affected by war. Something that, we're lucky enough not to have experienced, but there's little kids out there. I mean, I'm a parent, and I couldn't help to think of my child being in some of the situations that kids around the world are in. We've just had a ceasefire in Gaza happening. How long that's lasted, I don't know. But you got kids coming back into a war zone, essentially, or once was a war zone, to try and restabilize themselves. It's mental. What kids are going through the world. So this charity helps those, and it's a great cause. It's supported by Hasbro. This tournament is going to be live streamed. Christian, you're going to be there. Emma Partlow, you're presenting.
I'm presenting. She's casting because she knows what she's talking about. I'm just a pretty face at the start. That's how I think.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I was going to say some of them.
So,
Emma Partlow and Christian, not this Christian, the other Christian from Team Chad Magic, is going to be on the live stream commentating. This Christian, who's gone here, spelled with a C, not K, is going to be the sort of overall host of the thing. The battlechads are going to be competing in the tournament. Hopefully we'll have some stuff to give away to our opponents. You'll get something on entry. The unique thing about this tournament is that you will gain a prize per match you win. So we've said so many times on this podcast, we hate the RCQ system, how feel bad it is, but we want people to stay there. There's going to be a raffle after the Swiss, and there's going to be, if we sell out, there's going to be 2 top 8s. So 1 to 16 will get to play in 2 top 8s, and the winners of each one will get very good prizes. It's going to be so good. Like the raffle prize is going to be amazing. Harlequins have dug out blind. They've got stacks and stacks of boosters to give away. Seal product. We're getting donations through. It's going to be sick. The link is live, so we'll put it in the show notes. So go and get yourself a ticket. 13th of December. I think it's the last competitive modern tournament in England until the new year, I believe. Ever.
Until New Year, yeah.
Yeah, until the new year.
Yeah, it is.
But it's gonna be uber feel good. Like, so bring your pet decks, bring your ever decks. Like it's gonna be we aim it to feel
We'll all
feel
go
good.
out for a drink afterwards.
We'll all go out for a drink afterwards. Yeah, come
On
meet
Josh.
Yeah.
on. Dunno.
That was a joke.
After my last blackjack run, it was definitely not on me. But yeah.
No, genuinely, I'm so hyped for it. I am so excited. And if you like competitive Magic and you want to support competitive Magic in the UK and a great cause, come on down.
Turn up, yeah.
Cool. Nothing from me. Thanks for listening. Sam, will you take it away with the obvious, please?
What's obvious is the next 30 cards I've picked from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And if you don't want to listen to that, feel free to check us out. We are on YouTube, Spotify. Subscribe, ring that notification bell. We release these episodes weekly. Share them with your friends. I forgot what else I have to say here, Josh. Is that it?
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes, there we go. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you prefer Christian over Dan, let us know. Although we'll never let Christian back on after his blue-white control propaganda we've just had to listen to for the past hour. But no, Christian, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Where can we find you, Christian? What sort of horrible,
I'm outside
disgusting, pointless content do you make?
I make Commander content for some reason. On the main channel, Chad Magic. So if you really enjoy me, which is not something that happens very often, then yeah, go and subscribe to that. But genuinely, just drop a comment. You'd no idea how much it helps the channel. If you have got a card that you think that we didn't pick up on, that you think we should take a look at, please do. Josh and Sam and Dan reply to as many comments as they can get to, and they do read them all. So it's really appreciate it.
We do have the listener question thing, and please, I know I've given Christian a lot of, I keep going to say, a lot of sugar for making commander content, but that genuinely helps the competitive scene, especially in England, especially in North England at the moment. It genuinely helps the team. We're creating, well, the community around Chad Magics is really good, and it is the sort of backed up by the casual sort of space. So go check them out. It is really good. I recommend the stuff they've done with Howl and Salt Mine. It's absolutely amazing. But anyway,
very funny. Yeah, go and watch that. That's really good fun. You'll enjoy that, no matter whether you're competitive or casual. Very good.
Cool. Right. What an epic. Thanks everyone for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Yep.
Yep.